Have a great Wednesday, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
All right, you're streaming.
Hello,
on video.
YouTube. How are you? We're here. I think we should just jump right into
Let's
it.
do
Hold
it.
on,
yeah.
hold on. Let's hit
As soon
record
as
on the audio
as soon
part.
as Ian's ready.
I think we should just jump right into it.
I don't do
Halfway
any of the
through,
hard
wait a
work.
minute, the audio.
Still kind of need to do some voice
don't know.
checks real quick.
All right, sounds good.
All right, Savannah, can you spell your first name for me, please?
Savannah.
Josie, spell your first name.
Say Josie Wales. And do you know who that is?
No.
Because you're not over 50. Clint Eastwood played this gunslinger named Josie Wales.
Okay.
So actually a man, but I think spelt the right way.
Yeah.
And if you are under 50, actually if you're under I'll say if you're
It's kicking in.
I know. It's like just this like growing ball of fuzz. Something like a cat bats back and forth underneath the couch.
Oh no.
That's similar to my hair. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Why did you want to have a destination wedding, and maybe like a couple pros and cons of having a destination wedding?
Yeah, whenever that question comes up, everyone's like, "Oh, you have family out there, right?" And we're like,
Yeah,
nope.
I think I asked that.
Yeah, everyone kind of assumes that because I think a lot of times that is the reason why people do a destination wedding. But my husband and I always wanted an outdoor wedding, and obviously I'm biased as a wedding photographer. I'm like natural light, and I want to just be outside and
pretty
enjoy.
Landscapes.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to get married in February, and here in Minnesota, that's not a thing to be outside for an outdoor wedding. So,
maybe not the like guaranteed
I'd be an icicle.
Pretty landscapes. Yeah.
And my last name is Frost, so it'd be kind of fitting. But I don't know how frosty I really want to be, So, yeah, we chose Arizona just because I wanted something kind of different, and I knew no chance of rain, very rare. And we wanted something that was a little bit more intimate, and I think that having a destination wedding, it kind of naturally just makes it smaller.
Right, because people can't just drive there. It's not a quick jaunt.
Yeah, not everyone can
actually
make it,
plans.
but then, you just kind of make it more smaller group, and, your closest friends and family come down. But, yeah, it was beautiful. I think another benefit, too, is it was just something that's unique. And being a wedding photographer and being at so many weddings here in Minnesota, I kind of have been to all the venues, and I've just kind of seen a lot. And I wanted something different,
that
I wanted
you weren't
something
used
unique.
to. Yeah,
exactly.
something like that's a wow for you. Because if you're a bride or a groom, you've never gotten married to each other before. Like, I don't know.
Let's do it again.
You've never gotten married, and maybe you only have had a couple of friends or family members get married, so you've only been to a couple weddings.
Exactly.
Then pretty much no matter where you choose to get married, it's going to be new and exciting.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be used to it. You're not going to know like the ins and the outs.
Yep.
But if you are a wedding professional, you have to search a little bit harder.
Yeah.
To find something that's maybe unexpected or like a wow, or that you just really, really love.
Definitely. And we ended up choosing a place. It was actually an Airbnb, and we kind of got the best of both worlds because we had like the mountains were in the backyard. There was cactus, there was citrus trees all over the yard, there's little fountains, and I just kind of felt like I got a good mix of variety for like photos too.
Yeah.
And that was really fun.
So how did you decide to not go with a venue? Because I think maybe that's kind of a quick, easy win when you're planning a destination wedding, is to pick a wedding venue that's maybe a little more all-inclusive. Like you obviously as a wedding photographer, you do have experience planning weddings, like doing the timeline and figuring out logistics.
Yeah.
But if you don't have any of those skill sets, there is a benefit to getting married at a venue. So what kind of skewed you guys towards a non-wedding venue?
That's a great question. So some benefits of having a wedding venue are that, you have a group of people helping you kind of organize, okay, here's some different layout options. This is what people have done in the past. And here's where you could set up your ceremony and have your reception. And this is a nice flow of things. And it works really well for parking. And, they already have a set plan for everything. Versus us, we just kind of had to figure that out because it's like limited parking. You can't park on the street.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a neighborhood. You have to be aware of how much noise you're making.
What was your guest count? I have like 8 million questions.
No, please do. No, we had 40 people.
Okay, 40 people. Yeah. Were you in a gated community or just like a regular neighborhood?
So it was, I don't know. I would say it's like it was in Paradise Valley, Arizona. And so they're pretty big homes and they have pretty big yards, so it wasn't like door to door,
Right.
you know, but it wasn't gated.
You didn't have to like leave guest names at a
Right.
Little clubhouse that
Right.
people have to like, I'm here for the wedding.
Yes, for sure. So yeah,
Okay,
we didn't
cool.
have to do that. Yeah.
But no parking, overnight parking on the street, or no parking on the street
You
at
couldn't
all?
park on the street at all. So they actually did have enough parking for the amount of cars we had, because my family rented an Airbnb nearby, and so did
Cute.
his family. So it just kind of worked out, because then people would just carpool over, and
Yeah.
you know.
Or like maybe a dad did like a shuttle,
Yeah.
right?
Yep,
like,
exactly.
okay, I'll pick up the girls and bring them over, the guys or
Exactly.
whatever. Did you guys stay at the house?
We did. Actually, we had our whole entire bridal party with us as well.
Cute. So did you stay like the day before your wedding?
We flew
Days
down a couple
before?
days before.
Okay.
So not only did we have to figure out our wedding day timeline, but we had to figure out like
The
a
week up.
week's timeline.
Yes.
And I had to be really intentional with every single day, like what I had to do, because, you know, having a destination wedding, there's so many benefits of it, but there's also some disadvantages where you have to like run errands when you get there, and you can't like scope the venue the same way you could if I was like in Minnesota and I was, you know, driving right into the cities and just kind of looking at the venue and be like, okay, thumbs up, you know. We ended up going down there for our engagement photos, and we got a tour of the place and kind of saw if it was the right fit. But yeah, I think that having something closer by obviously makes it easier to you know, just kind of check it out
To
and
be
get
able to
tips
go beforehand
Yeah.
and tour.
Yeah,
Right.
but we had to
'Cause
like
it's
go
a
run
house,
errands and-
so you're like,
Yep.
what's in this house?
Exactly.
What's included? What did you do for? I have 800 million questions. What did you do for catering?
Mm-hmm.
What did you do for ceremony? Was it outside? Yes. What did you do for tables and chairs rental?
Yeah.
What? Tell me everything.
Okay. Whew. All right. So catering was kind of cool. It was, I don't know, I don't even know how it happened. It was such a blessing. So we were looking for caterers, and our so Matt is my husband's name. Matt was living with a roommate at the time, and we were just like wedding planning, making calls for different things. We were like, yeah, somebody asked us who our vendor was for food, and we're like, we don't really know yet. We're still kind of looking. And he like overheard us, and he was like, wait, Scottsdale area, Arizona, right? And we were like, yeah. And he's like, oh, my uncle does wedding catering in that city. I'm like, no way. Yeah, I was like, that's so crazy. So we called him up, and he's like, yeah, well, you know, he like gave us a cool deal, and everything was awesome. And yeah, he was just like such a blessing to work with, and it was just like a crazy connection that we were not expecting. So
I love that, and I have a blog post all about like relying on friends and like having friends that can help you with your wedding, and especially if your friend is a wedding professional,
yes,
you should use them.
Seriously.
I mean, maybe
agree.
not always like not that you did, but don't expect them to like give you things for free or discount. But that is an added bonus that he was like, and we'll do this and we'll do that. So what about, did they bring tables and chairs then?
So no, yes, he brought some for like setting up for his food, but we actually the place where we stayed, they actually had tables and chairs because they would have like family events and stuff like that
cool.
there.
So they were kind of set up for gatherings.
Yes, they used to have weddings there, but because of noise, they weren't able to anymore, but they still had all the equipment. The way they made their venue, they laid it out for weddings.
Yeah.
So they just had, you know, our little intimate one, and no more big ones for them, but yeah. So
okay,
they had
then
some stuff.
What about the noise? Did you have to like call like city police or just shut everything down by 10, or what was the?
Yeah, so I don't know if you know this, but we actually separated. So we had our wedding ceremony. Okay. We had like a wedding there with like our 40 guests, but we also had a wedding back in Minnesota, or like not a wedding, but
reception.
Like a reception.
Yes.
Yep. So we had the reception. So we actually just waited on like all of our dancing and all of that until our reception.
Cute.
And my aunt did like live music for that, and it was really great. But for our wedding in Arizona, we just did like our first dance, my dance with my dad and I, and then Matt and his mom, and there's like this cute platform with like these bistro lights kind of lit, and so we didn't have a problem with noise, and we actually ended the night pretty early. So
it was more like your ceremony and then a dinner.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then and like the
just
high
hanging
points.
out. Yeah. It was
and
awesome.
Cake. I don't know.
Yeah, we had cake. We definitely did. It was Oh, we had these cute little cactus cupcakes too, and little cake pops. It was so fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so backyard wedding at a destination wedding, non-wedding venue. This is like a very niche category.
I know.
How did you find like photographer? Did you have a videographer? What about like invites and all of those other things?
Yeah. So for our wedding photographer, I wasn't really sure because I didn't really know where to start. I didn't have any connections out there yet. But I'm pretty picky with my photographer being one, and I know, what my style is, and I know what I look for in a photographer. So I actually started by looking at their pictures and stuff and saw like a previous wedding that was shot there. And
okay.
I was like, oh, these photos are great. And so I reached out to that photographer, but they'd already had a wedding that day. So they actually immediately referred me to like 3 other options that they knew had similar style to them, which I thought was awesome. And
I think all vendors should do that. If
I
you're
know.
booked.
I know. It's
recommend.
So helpful.
It's such because now you have like a good feeling about that photographer too.
Exactly.
And then if someone else is getting married down there and you can't do their wedding for some reason, you're like, oh, but this person.
You still feel like you helped them. Yeah. And so, one of the people that they referred me to, I was like, oh yeah, this is great, and it worked out great for us. They were husband and wife team, and I wanted 2 photographers, so it was awesome. And we did do a videographer, which I would highly, highly recommend.
Also would I.
Oh my gosh, I still can't watch it without bawling.
Cute.
I watched it like again about a week ago, and I was just like crying, and my husband's like, he just started crying, and we're just both crying, and
did
we're
you
like,
guys do a first
so
look?
Great. We did.
At the house.
Yeah, so my husband was more so like, we have to do a first look. Obviously, I am like 100% first look. Like, I wanted to do it, but I was like, I'm a big surprise person. Like, if there's any opportunity for me to like make a surprise, I want to do it. And so I was considering waiting till the ceremony just because we had a smaller wedding. We had a little bit more flexibility with our time.
Right.
And he was like, I will not be able to like see during the ceremony because I would be bawling the whole time.
Aww.
Yeah. So it was really like intimate, and I would recommend a first look because it was just like just us, and like things didn't get started yet, and it was just like still calm in the morning, and so it was just like the most precious moment when he turned around and he just started like tears rolled down his cheeks, and he like backed up and had a huge smile on his face.
I haven't got that part in your gallery scrolling yet.
Okay, you'll get there. You'll know.
I like want to do it right now.
He picked me up and spun me, and it was so cute.
That is so sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, so photographer, videographer.
Yes.
Did your aunt also play music for your first dances?
Not there. It just didn't make sense because they actually have like a whole like live band. And so they would have had to like do a bunch of setup and stuff. And for when you're flying, it just makes it a little trickier.
Right.
So,
yeah. And then it's harder to be like, hey, will you play? But you also have to transport all of your equipment.
Yeah, exactly.
And airfare that you also have to pay for.
Yeah, exactly.
So what did
Another
you do
5
for,
bags.
Yeah. What'd you do for music?
Yeah. So we actually just set up like a speaker.
Yeah. Did you just rent it from a nearby
they
place?
They had one. So it was just perfect.
This is the best non-wedding wedding venue.
I know. And we did it like the day before too, because like I said, like stuff like that you can't like fiddle with beforehand and figure it out. So when you get there, it's like, okay, when we land, we gotta go buy this, and this.
Right. So you had a huge checklist.
Right.
Things.
Like, okay, I'm going to the dollar store on this day to get candles, and like then I'm going here to get this, and then I just had like a plan, like, okay, and then this time I'm gonna relax and we're gonna go out for ice cream, and we actually like got to go hiking with our bridal party up to the mountain. And
the thing that's really cool is because you had a smaller guest count, I feel like you have more wiggle room for all these little details and little extra things.
Yep.
Because you're not worrying about like this huge catering bill, aside from the point that you got a little nudge of a discount.
I know,
but
that was nice.
You know, like 40 people. Easy.
Yeah.
I could take 40 people out for dinner right now. I mean, my husband would be like, what's this charge? But, you know, like it's a lot easier than 240.
For sure. Yep.
Okay, so what about like invites, and how did you communicate to your guests that you were not having like a dance party reception in Arizona, but that they were invited for the ceremony, and then there was going to be another reception?
Yeah, so we had like a 2-sided invite for people who were coming to the wedding and the reception.
Okay.
And then we mailed out, oh my gosh, I felt like the invitations never ended. It was like bridal shower, thank you notes. And then it was like sending out the wedding ones. And then it was sending out the reception ones. And then it was thank you, you know, gifts, you know. And so it was like, whew, man, I've never mailed so much stuff in my life. Yeah.
Did you do save the dates?
We didn't, just because we
People
actually
knew.
got engaged in the fall and we got married in February.
So quick.
So it was pretty quick. And I didn't start planning until a few months after we got engaged, actually, because I was like, was full-time wedding. I mean, I had a huge fall. I had, you know, 5 weddings in September. I was like, I can't start yet, you know.
Yes, I have to edit these images.
Exactly. I need to catch up before I can start a whole nother project, because once I move on, I'm on planning my wedding. So
where did you go through for invitations? And
I used Zazzle.
Did you like it?
Yeah,
Your
I did.
experience was good?
I did, because I wanted to use some like photos for from our engagement session. So yeah.
So a different photographer did your engagement session photos?
Actually,
no,
same.
because you guys flew down there.
Same one. And it was cool just to like meet them, and it was fun just to like, it was seriously just like a blast. It didn't even seem like,
cute.
Oh, we're getting our photos. It was just
fun.
Us being romantic and
a weird
hanging out
stranger double date.
Right.
But not weird.
Yeah, exactly. But they were like super friendly, super
Cute.
awesome. Yeah.
That's awesome. I kind of planned a destination wedding,
Yeah.
but I'm from Washington State,
Okay.
but planned it from Minnesota.
Yep.
So we similarly went out to Washington for like maybe 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
But when we were there, we'd like cram and then come back,
Yeah.
you know, and do some planning, but we'd really like cram, because then that's when you can see and touch and feel everything.
Right.
Because what about flowers?
Yeah. So it's so great to get like recommendations from other vendors. So our when we went down to get our engagement photos taken, they were like, "Oh, who's doing your flowers?" We're like, "Haven't got there yet." And they were like, "Well, we have a really close friend that does them, and you know, a lot of the shoots that she had shot, it was like that florist."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yes, I'm gonna reach out to this girl." Yeah. So yeah, it was great just having some recommendations from them too.
Yeah, that's so perfect. Okay, so as a photographer and someone who just recently was married, what are some must-haves for your wedding?
Yeah.
And like maybe things that you already knew would be beneficial if you did, or things that while you were getting married, you're like, oh, I'm so thankful that we did this, or I kind of wish we had done this.
Yeah, there are a few things that come to mind. I mean, obviously, photographer. Yes, like I'm so biased on that, I know. But if you think about it, it's one of the few things you get to keep after the day's over. Because, like, if you have a ton of beautiful flowers, if you don't have pictures of it, they're just, you know, like that's all. Like, they were there for like, a few days. But I'm like all about flowers, you know? So it's like I want to make sure I get photos of those. And I would definitely recommend 2 photographers.
Yeah.
It just makes everything go smoother with your day, because, you know, one person can only be at one place at a time. And so you might miss out on some like candids, or, you know, while the bride and groom are doing something, the guests might be doing something else. They're all laughing, and there's just some precious moments that could be missed. Or like when you're getting ready, you know, someone with the groom, someone with the bride. And then, I mean, after watching our wedding video, I am like, everyone needs a wedding video.
I agree.
Yeah. It's like, it brings all that emotion out, because you're like, there's like your favorite songs coming up or something, or like.
Cinema is a thing. It's a real thing. Yeah, we
crazy.
were just recently, we're watching all of our movies so that we can sell them, because we're trying to be minimalist. So we just recently watched Band of Brothers and Pacific. Yeah. And it's like so interesting that like as a treat, you know, like the soldiers would like sit and watch a movie, and like how like impactful that is when you think about it, that like watching a movie transports you to a different time and place, and like
it like brings you right there.
Yeah, it can take like some worries. Well, probably not worries if you're watching a war movie like we were, but
all different.
You know, it like just takes you out of what your life is currently.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
To not have that in conjunction with your photos, I think is a missed opportunity.
Yeah,
and a lot of brides and grooms that don't have it, that have already been married, totally, they're like, we wish we had.
I know, I hear that a lot too.
I wish we had.
Exactly. And then a few other things that I think about are making sure you do sunset photos. Because, I mean, those golden hour photos are like the best. And like Matt and I, we're going to hang up photos of us, you know, as much as we want, as much as we love like all the detail shots and like.
You're not going to hang them up.
Exactly. And I mean, they're cool to have, because it really does help tell your story. And you put a lot of time and planning into that, and thought, and it was very like personalized.
Right.
So you want those, but you know, for hanging up on my wall, like I'm about to order one right now off my gallery, like this big metal print, and I'm like so excited because it's like that's one of us, and it's just something that's always going to be hung up in our home, you know. And so I'd say taking time through the like in your schedule to just go and have enough time to like go and take photos and not feel rushed
and not have it be like, okay, and now we have to pose like this and like, okay, make me laugh, say something hysterical.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, did you capture that? Did you get that?
Yeah,
because I looked really happy, didn't I?
There's enough emotion already. There's and it's like, yeah, exactly. Like that's the thing is with your wedding day is you need your timeline, you need your structure, but you need some buffer space too. You need time, you know, here 5 minutes here or 5 minutes there to just like slow down a little bit and just like be together. And I think that, you know, going away and, you know, from all your guests and just to go take pictures is like where you guys can just like, whoa, like process a little bit and breathe. And there, like I said, there's enough emotion where I could just kind of tell them, okay, walk away from me. Okay, now turn around, you know, okay, tickle her a little bit, you know, and, or, you know, just like let them be or, you know, pick her up and spin her around, you know, give them something to do if they're like, I don't know, you know.
Right. So, I totally agree. And I think that I'm not really an anal retentive timeline creator, but I kind of am. In that I'm not going to put on your timeline like 7:05 a.m., wake up 7:06
brush teeth.
Bed. I'm not going to say that.
And
I am going to though leave space because during the day you have to pee. I'm not going to write that on your timeline,
and you don't know when that's going to happen.
But you should probably leave time for the opportunity to pee, to drink water, to have a breather. What if it like sprinkles a little in the morning? Like you don't want to be so constricted that you're like, what? I didn't schedule rain at 10:24. Like
for sure.
We need to be outside right now. It's like, no, you're fine. You have time. Everything's going to be okay. And I would say that I'm a huge proponent of having photographers for a minimum of 10 hours on the day of. Because once you start getting less than that, that's when you feel like you need to squeeze everything in and you have to do it quick. And what if you have a big family? Okay, family photos, we only have 10 minutes for that. And well, what if Uncle Larry hasn't showed up yet? Now you're screwed. Now you're stressed out. Like having a photographer there for a little bit longer. Maybe even 12 hours. I think 12 hours is maybe getting into the realm of unfair to like human beings. Like 12 hours is a long time to be quote unquote working. Even if you're having a great time, you're still standing. If you're a photographer or videographer, you're like bench pressing like every time you stand up because you have equipment.
Right. And I think it's just different for every wedding. Like some weddings, you know, 8 hours is perfect. And for some weddings, you do need a little bit more time because maybe you have a really big wedding and you have like, you know, a receiving line following the ceremony. And, you know, sometimes that can mess with your schedule.
Smaller guest count and everything in one place. You can do a little
versus
bit
like,
less.
oh, yeah, did so-and-so show up? Oh, we have to wait to take this photo. Or, you know, there could be just different things.
Or we have to travel 30 minutes to a reception.
Exactly.
Well,
every
your
wedding
photographer
is just so
doesn't
unique.
take a break during that time.
Right. Yeah. So that's why I think it's really important to just like, you know, having a wedding planner or someone, the day of coordinator or something to help you keep that structure. But, you know, to make sure things kind of keep moving because I feel like, for example, like a receding line, if you're talking to each guest for a full minute, I mean, you are taking a lot of time if you have
240 minutes.
If you have 200, 300 guests.
Can't do that.
You know? So you might have to have, you know, some advice being like, you might want to do just like mingling with tables once you get to the reception.
Hi, thanks for coming. Hi, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Hi, thanks for coming.
And it's like at that point, I'm not sure if it's worth it, but for some people, it's like, this
have
is
to
all
do it.
You got to do it. Yeah, because they don't know if they're going to be able to talk to them and they just want to thank them or.
Yeah, that's tricky. I always suggest couples doing like a welcome thank you. So like after their grand march, even if it's not the whole wedding party grand march, just walking in and saying like thank you all for coming and looking around at every person.
Right.
At least bare minimum have that.
For sure.
Also, I wanted to say something very important, but now I can't recall. Okay,
it'll come to you.
So some benefits that you knew were going to be a benefit for your wedding beforehand, photography, videography, anything that happened during your wedding week or during the wedding day that you're like, oh, I wish we would have, or I'm glad that we did.
Yeah. I wish we would have.
It doesn't have to be super like negative. I
yeah.
wish we would have been marrying different people.
That's rough. I can't think of something that I wish I would have done. I think that something that I'm really happy that I did is have somebody designated to make sure like things kind of go along schedule. For example, like, okay, make sure the guests don't get seated until, the photographers come back and take pictures. And one thing that did come up that I didn't even know of until after the wedding was there was a miscommunication with tablecloths.
Okay.
So we had like those white tables that were like not cute.
Yeah,
and then
they're not cute.
No tablecloths. They're not cute.
Actually, no tables are cute unless they're like harvest wood tables.
Exactly. Yep. So, yeah, we didn't have tablecloths. And Matt and I went away to this park to go take pictures when they were setting up. And my personal attendant went out and got tablecloths and came back before we even
knew.
She's
the best.
I know. So it was great. Like just making sure, you communicate to someone like, hey, like, will you just, if anything comes up during the day, will you mind just kind of delegate it or just make sure something happens with it so that, you're not going to the bride and groom or, the bridal party of the family because they're going to be, they're going to want to be experiencing all of that and be at photos and, they're not going to want to be worrying about something that really, at the end of the day, it's not really going to matter,
Like, hallelujah, there was tablecloth.
I know, but it wouldn't have
But it wouldn't have been like, oh, we can't get married now.
For sure.
Like,
at that point, we already were, so we're good. Yeah, so, I mean, I feel like with almost every wedding, there could be, like, something that either's forgotten or you're like, if I would have had that would have been cool to, like, know about that at that time. But you know what? You just got to make the best of what it is. And if something comes up on your wedding day that you're not expecting or, like you mentioned, like, a little sprinkle or something on the bottom of your dress, whatever, like, it's just enjoy the day. You're only going to have, this one day. Right. You might as well just make the best of everything,
Right. I totally agree. And while your bias is hiring a really good photographer, my bias is hiring a really good wedding planner.
Because they go hand in hand, yeah.
Yeah, it's someone that, is not going to feel the weight of that stress because they're not the one getting married.
Right.
So when it's something like, oh, on the layout, we have this table here, but their layout shows the table here. It's like, okay, let's just make a quick executive decision because it's not going to, like, crumble to earth if the table was in a different spot than, like, one person had wanted it.
Right, for sure.
And then they don't have to go up to the bride and groom and be like, where do you want the cake table?
Right.
And they're like, at this point, I don't care. Like, why
honestly,
are you even talking to me?
Like, you plan as much as you can beforehand, but, like, when the day comes, you just got to let it go.
Let it go.
Like, you let it go. You just have to, trust that, the people that you've put, to help you with that are going to. And if it might not be perfect because, you have to... like
but
I said,
what is
it.
perfect? Isn't perfect getting to marry your best friend?
Exactly.
Isn't that it? And then there's a period at the end of that sentence. There's no caveats. There's no, like, semicolons or parentheses. Like, getting to marry your best friend.
Yep.
Period. That's perfect.
Yep.
And that's it. That
Happy
kind
day.
of maybe, like, leaves room for me to just say that episode 25 coming up, I'm going to talk about wedding planning pain points. So if you're listening to this right now and it is past the time where that episode goes live, feel free to listen to that one next, add it to your queue. What are maybe some unforeseen complications of not getting married at a wedding venue? So we already talked about how you were saying, like, you couldn't necessarily just go any day that you wanted to or any weekend to the house and, like, check it out, but that you were able to schedule a time to, like, have a tour.
So kind of like what I mentioned, like, there might be limited parking, there might be different rules for that neighborhood. Like, for us, it was, like, noise, and there could be, like, other restrictions. But also not having, like, all these preferred vendors, which can kind of make things go smoothly.
Right.
I mean, that alone has pros and cons because it's, like, you could choose all your own vendors. But also, if you're, if you just want, like, these recommendations, it's nice to be
Easy.
like,
Here
okay,
it is.
there's my 3 options. There's my
Right.
3 options. There's my 3 options. Okay, those things are taken care of. You know what I mean? And just kind of
Right.
get those done, and so you have more time for other little details.
But totally on the other side of it, sometimes that preferred list, well, some vendors, it's a paid preferred list, right? Which is, neither here nor there. But also, maybe those, you don't know if that vendor is kind of like sick of going to that venue, maybe, and they just view it as a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you picked vendors that had never been there and they're so excited, this is going to be so awesome, there's like kind of a renewed enthusiasm for your wedding, which is also like, that's kind of great too. So all that mushiness to say that, yes, pros and cons.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, it just depends on where you're at. If you're like, I just want wedding planning to be done with, and I don't really care who's doing the food, if it's this person or this person,
as long as there's food.
Right. We want to eat. We're going to be hungry, So, yeah, I think that it just kind of depends on where your non-venue, is.
I mean, it's the same as like a backyard wedding, right?
Yeah.
It's a non-wedding venue that you kind of have to transform and make your own, and having tables, chairs, speakers, parking, all of those things are things that might go hand in hand with a wedding venue.
Right, because they've thought through it all. Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about the wedding day of timeline. So you guys were staying at the house.
Mm-hmm.
So you had hair and makeup come to you.
Actually, we didn't, because a lot of my bridesmaids, they're like really good at makeup. So they just did their own. But I actually did my own makeup too, but my hair, I was like, there's no way. So I went with my 2 new sisters and my mother-in-law, and we went to like a salon nearby. But yeah, it wasn't like a full group, so we're like, we'll just go there. It was like literally right down the road.
Yeah. I mean, you made an appointment beforehand,
right,
and then you were like, okay, there's going to be 3 of us, and it was super chill. That's the nice thing about salons, is that they have multiple stylists, so they're like, sure,
just
whatever,
did it all once.
Come on in.
Yep, all their stuff was there.
Did you go to breakfast or have breakfast at the house?
I don't remember. I think I just had a snack, because I just wanted to get up before all the commotion happened, so I just started getting ready, like, before.
Yeah.
Because it was like, limited showers. I'll take the first one.
Good point. Yeah.
But yeah, I think having it all in one place was so beneficial, because it was just like so relaxed.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to worry about getting in a car, driving somewhere. Well, I can't be in my dress if I'm in the car, because then it'll get wrinkled. Blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. And so what we did is we basically got, mostly ready at the place. All the guys got ready at one side of the house, and we got ready at the other, because it was like, in Arizona, a lot of the houses, they're just like one level and just like bigger. And so they were on that side, we were on this side, and it was just so nice, and just like to be able to just walk outside and like, oh, we're doing our first look right over there by that palm tree, and I think it was cool too, because like right before the ceremony, we just kind of went inside and we like prayed, and I had a Krispy Kreme donut right before I walked down the aisle. It was just like didn't even seem
stressful.
Not at all.
Right.
Like it was like, I mean, it was like the most peaceful day that I had, which I was shocked, because I thought, I have these high expectations because I'm, in the wedding business, but no, I was just like so relaxed. So
perspective, like an experience led you to be calm on your wedding day, right?
Exactly.
Yes. And
nothing
so
says calm like Krispy Kreme donuts, I'm just saying.
You didn't get the letters like CALM.
What?
Like donut letters.
I don't know what that. No, what is? You have to show me.
They're just donuts in the shape of letters.
Oh,
so
okay.
Spell stuff out.
Okay.
Donut
Does
letters.
Krispy Kreme have those?
Probably not.
Oh,
but
all right.
You should get it, Krispy Kreme.
If you're listening, Krispy Kreme.
I know you're
Next
listening.
business idea.
Yes. Well, let's kind of switch gears. What are a couple of trends that you feel like you're seeing for weddings this year coming up?
I'm seeing a lot of like minimalist, nude tones.
Silver.
Silver's coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was gold for like the longest time.
Yeah, it's like silver or like copper.
Yeah.
But copper is like only if you're like the trendy.
Yeah.
Silver is like you're being regular.
Yeah.
You're a regular person. You're not an artist. You just like pretty things.
Right. And another thing, what was it? I just had it. Like boho.
Yeah.
I feel like people kind of go one way or the other, but I feel like boho is still just like really trendy.
Macrame.
Yeah.
Teepees.
Yeah.
sleeved dresses.
Yep.
What else is wild flower
Like a lot of
bouquets.
braided hairdo. Like
Yes,
hairdo is a lot
love
more like
that.
loose versus like
Jamine's braid yesterday. I
who-
was
oh yeah.
I was staring.
Oh.
I was like just in awe staring at it. I was like, my hair could never do that. Like, let's be honest. Also,
Yeah.
I don't have low lights, so it wouldn't look the same.
Not
But it was
exactly
like the
same.
perfect like raised
Yeah.
braid.
For sure.
Okay, so what should oh, I was gonna ask about if they should have an engagement shoot, which you said yes.
Oh, definitely. I just think it's so fun, and you get to know your
photographers.
Yeah.
And then golden hour photos.
Yeah,
that's
must
a big
have.
yes.
Absolutely.
And you are a pro versus a con of first looks.
Yeah, I think majority of weddings that I've been to, it's always been a pro. There hasn't been a con, I don't think, in doing a first look. The only thing is just a personal preference. I think, that's like a tradition, and so some people want to do that, or they want that. Like for me, I'm like, surprise, here I am. But
you pop out of the wedding cake.
oh no, just surprising everyone all day. No, I think there's more pros. I just think it helps you just be more relaxed for the ceremony.
Agreed.
Kind of.
It sets the tone too, because then you have seen each other now. Kind of like you just exhaled. Like there's less pressure.
Yeah.
And then you can do photos.
Yeah. Seriously,
if you have a lot of photos to take.
For sure, because I think that once your guests all get there and you're starting to see, people who flew out of state to come see see you get married, and just like a lot of family and friends you maybe haven't seen in a while, like once after your ceremony, you kind of want to like go and hang out with these people, and you want to have time with them. You don't want to feel like you're taking forever taking all these group photos, and it's just nice to get them over with in the morning as much as you can.
Right.
And then later, before you join your reception or something, do bride and groom photos, or any other bridal party shots if you wanted to. Any other like family that maybe showed up later. But try to keep it minimal with that time, because you're hungry.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to relax. Like you pretty much like get to enjoy the rest from there on. It just kind of is, and you're dancing, or you're eating dinner, or you're doing speeches, and most of the day just kind of flows after that. There's less directing and all that. So
it does depend on the dynamics of your
yes,
wedding.
It does.
I'm thinking about like my couples this year that have no first look, and that's totally fine. I completely support them. They don't have a bridal party, or they don't have a big bridal party.
Yeah.
They're doing photos with their side of the family beforehand separately, and so then afterwards it'll be big group photos.
Yeah.
And obviously that's where I really come in handy with a list,
Yeah.
with the photographer and her second shooter and my assistant, wrangling people and
Yeah.
like being like, okay, take the picture. Okay, now you guys step out. Now
And
you
that's
step
like
in.
essential to have someone like that, because
Makes a difference.
I always try to tell people and warn them, like, hey, try to keep it minimal with your family list. Like, don't just make a list of different groups just because you can. You know what I mean? Because some people are like, okay, this person, and then take them out, and then put them back in, and then take this person out, and then put them back. It can get tricky, because then if like that person doesn't show up, or they're showing up late or something,
now we
it's
can't
like,
do that whole chunk of photos.
Those 10 photos or whatever, So I say try to keep it to about about 10 different groupings, because then it's like you don't want to spend too much time doing that. Obviously, get your essential photos if you have a really big family.
Like, this is not saying, like, okay, you can only have 10 pictures that include your mom.
For sure. No, and that doesn't include any of the bridal party or anything
this is
like
not immediate family. What's
that
called?
Like extended family.
Extended family.
I would just say it can be tricky, just because you get such a wide like dynamic of different people and personalities, and
or then like what if your dad is in most of those pictures, and like 5 pictures in, dad stops smiling, and so now none of those pictures you actually even want to use, or like what would you use them for? Like my wedding I have coming up on Saturday, there are gonna be like not a large amount of family photos, but like there's a good list. And one of the things that the bride said is, well, we got pictures before my second daughter was born of the whole family. So now I want those same pictures with both my daughters in them. It's like, oh my gosh, absolutely.
For sure.
Like if you actually have a reason for taking that picture, do it. But if you're like, I just saw this list on Pinterest
Yeah,
that I copy and pasted?
pasted. Yeah, copy pasted off Pinterest.
Do you even have any attachments to those people or pictures? Like, will you use them, or are you just getting them to get them? I always say, too, ask moms what they really want.
Yep.
So then, okay, we're done with family photos, and the photographer's like, that's it. Okay, we're great. And then mom comes up and is like, what about a cousin's picture? And you're like, well, it's not on my list.
Yeah.
And, like, are those people even here? Like, oh, well, cousin Billy is late, so we can't, you know, it's, like, such an added stress last minute. I know Billy's the worst. But, like, if you had talked about it beforehand, maybe mom would have been like, oh, that's fine if you just get a big group family. Yeah, we don't need the cousins individually. That'd be silly.
And every person wants something different. Like, I've had, you know, some bride and grooms where they're like, we just want our immediate family, and, like, that's all we really need.
Right.
You know, or some people will do one big group of their extended family, and then, okay, everybody go enjoy. Right. You know?
How do you feel about whole wedding pictures?
Like a big group photo?
Like the entire wedding invited.
Yeah. I've done it before.
Yeah.
It's not always easy because, like, there's some, you know, there's always some guests that are like, I don't want to be in the picture.
I just want some beer.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I don't know. It just kind of depends if they want it. I usually don't, like, insist it.
Yeah.
One thing, though, if you want to get, like, everyone on the dance floor, you could do, okay, everyone on the dance floor, because we're photographers going to capture it on a group photo. So make sure you know, get in there so that you kind of get, like, some cool dancing
and
pictures,
because
they're already on there. Yeah, they're already on the dance floor. So it's
I
like
that.
They're already on the dance floor, so they're already, you know, they feel a little bit more comfortable, especially if everyone was invited and they're, like, kind of forceful. But, like, everyone now, like, come on, you know. They're like, oh, okay, it's not weird if I go up there and start dancing.
Or
you know?
sparklers. Yeah. Because you might want to do sparklers before it's completely dark out. Because the pictures will show up just a little bit better.
I like that, yeah.
And so if you're doing it, like, right at, like, dusk.
Yep.
So, like, the sun is not completely gone from the earth, but it's, like, darker, and then everyone goes outside and does that. That's a great opportunity because everyone loves sparklers.
Everyone does.
You can clear a whole, like, 240 people if you say, I'll give you a sparkler and I will light it for you. They're like,
it's true.
And the long ones, because then they're like, ooh, this is gonna last forever.
Those. We had, like, there was, like, so many options for length of sparklers. There's, like, a 10-minute sparkler. I don't know which one we got. My husband
like 36 inches or something. Probably.
Yeah, it was awesome. Everyone had a huge blast with them because, like, after we'd already left, they were still, like, playing with them. And, you know, if you have kids at your wedding, too, it might just be the best.
And they're not super expensive, so just kind of, like, spend the extra $2.50 and get extra.
Right, right.
Okay, so group photo, I had a couple last year, and I feel like they were difficult because the timing of it is difficult. So if you, because it's like, okay, after, I think the best place ideally in my mind, it would be either during that sparkler picture, which is maybe right before you start dances, or like after toast, cake, and then go do sparklers, come back in first dance. But it depends on where the sun is in the world, right? So probably that's not going to work in June because then the sun's not setting until 9:28 or something.
Right.
But if you got married in February in Minnesota, then that would be like before you even eat dinner, right? Like, so that depends on when. I think it depends on when you're getting married. But ideally, those are like, I think if everyone's seated, then the bride and groom, they just kiss and they turn around and it's like one from behind the altar.
Yeah.
But no one ever goes for that. The ones that I've done were after the receiving line. Well, guess what? After the receiving line, which takes a while, your guests are, for some reason, like miraculously, they are starving. They have never been hungrier in their life. They want to know what appetizers you have. And as soon as they eat that first, like, amuse-bouche, they're like, I'm starving for dinner. And you're like, oh my gosh, you're eating antipasta. Like, what? Like, what? Why are you starving?
Yeah.
And they want, and then if it's your friends, they're like, what's the hosted bar? You know, it just is kind of like, not everyone's like that, but one person does it, everyone jumps on the bandwagon.
Yeah, they're
and
like,
then you're like, but first, can you take a picture? And they're like, F off, we don't want to.
Yeah, they're like starving.
Yeah, I think it's, if I perfect it this summer, I'll tell everyone listening to this podcast how to do it, but the big group photo is tricky.
It is. It is tricky, but I think it's definitely doable if it's like a must-have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anything's possible if you really find value in it for your wedding.
Yeah. And you'll, like, make time, especially if you plan something like with your coordinator and like, okay,
Right.
we really want to figure out where that works. And then, you know, the coordinator can talk to your photographer and say, hey, like, you know, what are your suggestions? Like,
Where's the best vantage point, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't necessarily just do it if everyone's on the same level, because then we
Right.
can't see everyone, and not everyone likes kneeling because they
Right.
have knee problems or something cranky.
right.
Also, I think it's a good idea to have your officiant maybe like explain the meaning of that big group photo and then when it's going to be.
Mhm.
People listen to officiants like no other. And they still
It's
like
so true.
correlate them as like godly figures,
Yeah.
even if they're not a priest.
Right,
It's
right.
just like your best friend from
Yeah, like
high school, and
yeah.
they're like, oh yes, whatever you say.
Yeah.
But having them kind of convey the meaning,
Yeah.
then guests are more willing to do it. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, it's meaningful to Cynthia. Okay, we'll do
It's
it.
really one of the only times you get everyone's attention because they're
Right.
already like, I can't talk, I can't make noise, I'm gonna stare. You know, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Versus like as soon as you just like people are everywhere.
Everywhere.
That's why family photos can be tricky sometimes because it's like, where did they go?
Where do they
Someone
go?
went to the bathroom. Someone went to their car. You know, to
Yes.
change their shoes.
Yes,
Or, you know.
that is a thing that happens
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, and then or just managing expectations, like
Yeah.
saying like, okay, we're gonna try our hardest to get this big group photo. If a few people are missing, it's not gonna be the end of the world.
Yeah, for sure. And most people will understand that.
I hope. I mean, they will.
We'll see how it goes.
They will. They will. Okay. Any other advice you would like to impart on
Yeah.
our listeners about weddings, timeline, destination, non-wedding
Yes.
venues? These are all tag
Yeah.
keywords for this
I
episode.
think you just have to know that everyone's wedding is going to be different, and everyone's wedding, like everybody has different style and different things that are important to them, and just personalize your wedding to what you guys actually want. Because I feel like a lot of people will pressure you, like, oh, are you going to do that though? Like, why aren't you doing that? You know, or
Right.
I just feel like, you know, it could be your family or it could just be anyone, you know, just kind of trying to push, you know, what style or what things you need and don't need. But you just really have to like, okay, take on like, okay, yeah, that's a good idea, but we really don't need that. Or, hey, that's a really great idea. We're going to talk about it or something, you know, just because
Thanks for the advice. Well, I don't
Yeah.
know. I
Yeah.
hate it, but thanks.
Right, yeah. So just take things and don't feel like you have to make your wedding or like do something in your wedding just because somebody else
Right.
did it. Make it your own.
Agreed. I
Yeah.
totally agree.
Yeah.
And I have a great little mini email course that starts out with determining your wedding wants, because
Yeah.
once you are confident and assertive with what it is you actually want with your
Mhm.
wedding, then you can tackle those questions like, well, why aren't you having a sit down dinner with
Yeah.
like, well, we just didn't find value in it,
Yeah.
and we really love the idea of
Yeah.
heavy appetizers and people mingling and being friends more.
Yep. Yep.
And then they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, why aren't you going to have bouquets for your bridesmaids?
Yeah.
Oh, we just thought it would be better to save
Yeah.
our money for other things that are more important.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
know?
Everyone's just got different needs and different things they want, and
You do you.
yeah.
Well, I end every episode with a high five.
All
so
right.
thank you
You're welcome.
for coming
Thank
on,
you.
and
Thanks
have
for
a
having
great
me.
rest of your week.
Thank you. You too. And everyone else listening.
Yes, everyone, all of the people.
All of the people.
So we're still on YouTube for a bit.
Okay,
Any
yeah.
other things? Did you guys do a honeymoon?
We did. We went to the Dominican and Punta Cana.
Oh,
It was awesome.
fun.
Especially because, you know, February was so cold here.
Yes.
It was great just to be able to go and relax after. Because, like I said, we planned for like that week.
Yeah.
And once that was over, it was just nice to like go somewhere. We stayed at an all-inclusive place and we just got to like relax. Yeah.
Did you leave like right from Arizona?
We spent a couple nights in Arizona just because we were like,
Fun.
we weren't sure how we were going to feel if we were just like, you know?
Right.
And we didn't want to like be like, okay, we have to catch this flight, you know, the
yeah,
next
I
morning.
think that's a good point. And I think
Yeah.
some couples do
Yeah.
not have that foresight.
Yeah.
And so then they're like, yes, it was so rushed. And then we got to the place and we felt rushed because
Yeah.
we planned so many things to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to go on vacation and not do.
Yeah, we just like went out to dinner. We actually
walked
drove to
around.
the Grand Canyon. And
Yay!
Yeah,
That's
it's
so
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
Did you stay there or just day
we
trip?
stayed there for one night. Yeah,
Did you camp or cabin?
we stayed in a
Cabin.
hotel.
Oh,
So.
well, because I was going to say, actually, you can't take camping gear
Oh, really?
easily when you, like, fly down for your
Right,
wedding. Like,
yeah.
you're more concerned about, like, getting your dress
You like
and
six
the
bag.
suit
It's like
down
your
there.
dress. You got like your
The
wedding
drums
day
for the
stuff.
band.
Yeah, your camping gear, your tent,
Yeah.
your hiking stick. No,
Maybe that's excessive.
that's a little excessive. I think.
Where did you hike Paradise City?
Paradise Valley, and it's Camelback Mountain.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
Fun.
It's
That's so
awesome.
great. Yeah, because we go down to like Goodyear,
Okay.
Glendale
That's awesome.
area on the other side of Phoenix, I think.
I was like having doubts with myself the next day though, because my legs were so sore from hiking. I was like, "Oh, am I gonna be sore tomorrow for the wedding?" I was like, I was fine. But
But that's the best if you're sore and then you like have to like push through it.
Yeah.
Then you're like, whatever.
Right.
I built muscle.
Lame. No, just kidding.
How many people stayed in the house with you?
I think. Let me just think for a second. It was our bridal party. We had 7 bridesmaids and 7 groomsmen. Ooh. Yep. And then, but they didn't all stay there. There was a few people that stayed. So my siblings wanted to stay with my parents right down the road. It was like a few houses down.
That's so cool that it was like close.
So close.
And
it was awesome. And it was cool to be able to like, hey, want to come over and grill, or you want to go swim in the pool, or you know. So, yeah.
And who are your photographers again?
Betsy and John Allen.
Yay.
Yep, they live over in Arizona.
And now when you have your anniversary every February, you're going to go to Arizona.
Right. Maybe. We'll see. I want to go to a lot of places. So we'll see. We'll probably go back. Maybe like, I was thinking like once we had kids, it'd be cool to like take them and be like, hey, this is
where we got married.
Yeah.
Let's go hike Camelback.
Yep.
And it can be like a little family tradition.
For sure.
That's adorable. I have a ton of places I want to go also, and not even like outside of the U.S.
Yeah.
There's just so many.
There's
like
so
Lake
much to see.
Havasu, that's in Arizona.
Yeah.
Like north. You probably drove kind of past it on your way to.
I don't know.
Maybe not. Maybe it's too far west. People from Arizona listening are like, you're an idiot. You don't know geography at all. But I for sure want to go there, or even like any of the national parks in like Utah or California.
Oh yeah.
I haven't even ventured that far yet.
Yeah.
Josie, what episode are we on here?
We are in episode 23, and we can wrap it up from YouTube. Have a great day.